Okay guys, today I'm going to be making a video that probably isn't going to apply to most of you, but to those of you that it does apply, you're probably really going to appreciate it. This is something that I haven't found a whole lot of information on the internet about, and I kind of just figured it out by trial and error. But it's how to remove and replace the rear sight on a Springfield XDM 5 1/4 competition. Mine happens to be 9 mm, but I'm sure it works on the other calibers of the pistol as well. But if you've ever tried to removing the sight's not too hard, but if you've ever tried to put it back on, you know that it's kind of a pain, and there's a certain trick to it that you got to know in order to get it on without damaging anything. So without further ado, I'm just going to go get right into it, and let's start this. Now, the reason that I had to remove and replace it the first time was because there's a pin in the front of this sight that holds it in. There's a screw in the back and a pin in the front. Well, what happens is this pin will break. When it broke on me, I was in the middle of a shooting competition, and I happened to notice that there was these two pins sticking out the side of my gun as I was shooting a stage of the competition. And I finished the stage and I was like, well, that's weird. So I pushed them back in and thought, okay, that's weird. It just came loose a little bit. The next stage, shooting it, and the pins started coming out both sides, and I thought, oh, something's wrong here. And so I still had a lot of the competition left to shoot. So what I ended up doing was I was chewing gum at the time. I took the gum out of my mouth, pushed the pins back in, and bit the gum in half and stuck the gum on each side to hold those pins in. And it worked for the rest of the competition, and it got me home. But when I got home, I did a little research, and I found out that the reason those pins are coming out, it's supposed to be one pin, but it splits in half, and then it starts to come out of the gun. So what I did was I called Springfield and told them, and Springfield customer service was great. They sent me a new pin right away. But when I went to go put it back in, I figured out it's a lot harder than you think it is. And if you've ever done any research online, a lot of other people think the same thing. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and remove the sight. The reason I'm removing it is because I'm actually putting a red dot on here for competition. I'm going to a different category in competition. But I thought while I'm going ahead and taking this sight off, I'll make a little video about how to put it back on, because that's actually the hard part. So let's go ahead and get started. First, go ahead and take this adjustment screw out. This is what holds it down in the back. Simply, you just unscrew it. Now there's a spring underneath this sight, so you want to make sure when you get that pin out of the front that you don't lose that spring. There we go. We got the spring out. We'll set that to the side. Now the only thing holding this sight on is that pin in the front. And you just take your punch. I'm not sure exactly what size punch this is, but just make sure you got the right size punch. This one is actually a little bit smaller than the hole, but it works to pop this thing out. So get your punch on there and pop that pin out. There it goes. It's out. Now release it easy. Sight comes off. And here's that spring I was telling you about. This is the spring that it's kind of the adjustment spring. It's what holds the sight up, and when you're tightening that screw down, it's what's pushing that spring down. Set that to the side. So that's it. It comes out pretty easy. There's the sight. Now the thing is, this sight has a spring and a couple different retainers inside of it. Let's see if I can get them out. There we go. It's got these two little retainers and this one spring. One of the retainers actually comes out of this hole right here, and it's what the adjustment screw indexes on. So when you're turning that adjustment screw, you'll feel it go click, click, click. It's because it's hitting on one of these retainers. And the other retainer actually holds this pin in. Here's the pin. You can see it's got a little divot in the center of it, and one of these retainers sits in that divot and keeps this pin from sliding out. And what happens is this pin will break in half right there at that skinny part, and it will start sliding out of your gun. I'm going to go ahead and set these aside, and I'm going to show you what that looks like, because I've still got my original pin. And if yours does ever break, save this pin, because you're going to need it to be able to put this thing back in, or else you're going to have to find a pin that's that's the same size as this. Here's half of it. This is half of it. The other half's still in the bag. But I'm going to use half of it to actually reinstall this sight, which I'm getting ready to show you how to do right now. Okay, so you've got your rear sight. Let's go ahead and reinstall the retainers and the spring. Let me show you on this. Let me show you on here how they actually go, so you can see it before I put them in. Get this out of the way. You've got this. Here's the spring, the adjustment spring and the adjustment screw. We'll set those to the side. This is the pin. If yours broke in half, that's the pin you'll get from Springfield that you're going to reinstall. That's one that's actually good. Okay, so here's the spring that sits inside your sight. Here's one of the retainers. It's going to roll around, but it goes just like that. They've got this little nub on the outside of them. The nubs face to the outside and the spring's in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall these inside this little hole on the front of this sight. I hope this is in focus. I can't tell or not. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be. But let's go ahead and see if we can do this on camera. These are tiny little things. If we can pick them up, we're going to put one down inside. We're going to put the spring in next. And I don't know if you can see it, but that little nub sticking out this tiny little hole inside the sight where the adjustment screw goes. Now we're going to stick the other retainer in with the nub facing out. We're going to attempt to do it. Okay, we got it. We got it. So there you go. Your sights assembled back together. Now this is the tricky part because I don't know, there's probably no way you're going to see it, but inside there, that retainer keeps this pin from being able to push through. As you can see, I'm trying to push it, like it's not going to go. You can try to hammer it all day long, you're going to mess something up. But the trick is, you got to push this little retainer in. Right here, I'm just using this tiny little, it's a little like a Torx bit screwdriver, a little tiny one that fits in this hole. You push it in. This isn't how to install it. I'm just kind of showing you off the gun so it makes it a little more evident. Push it in, and then you're able to push that screw in. You see how, or not the screw, push that little pin in. So that's the original one, but I'm getting ready to show you how we do it with the broken one, the old broken one. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one back out. This is the one. This is the good one. I'm going to go ahead and install it with the broken one. Put the pin in there. Push in on this little nub, and then push the pin in. Got to make sure it's pass flush so you can't see it. And if yours isn't broken and you just got a brand new one, you just removed it to clean it or something, you're going to have to find a pin just like this. And I've read online where they say you might be able to use a 1/64 or a 5/64 pin to do this. I haven't tested it myself because I actually had the broken one and I could use that. So if you don't have a broken pin, you're going to need to go buy a little dowel pin or something to put in there. But just make sure that it's not sticking out past the edge of the sights. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the gun. Let me push this to the side. We're going to need the spring first. Need to put the adjustment spring in there. Now we can set the sight back in here. And what we're going to do is going to grab the good pin, or the new pin if you're replacing a bad one. Make sure it's all lined up. And I've already pushed it part of the way in just by hand. And you can see on the other side, it's pushing the slave pin out. And I goofed up. Let's see. Nope, I did not goof up. I thought I goofed up. Now you just tap it in. I thought the slave pin came out too soon, but it did not. It was in there enough to keep that other pin, keep that little retaining pin back. So now we're just going to make sure that this is centered in there. If I can get the punch on there. Okay, let's see. That side, I punched it a little bit too far out. The other side. We'll push it back just a tad. Let's try it again. I want to try to keep this centered so that little nub is sitting right in the center of that pin. If it takes you a few tries, just try to get it centered best you can. It's just wanting to go back and forth up. That looks pretty good. Okay, now we got that done. Last thing you got to do, put your adjustment screw back in. Get your flat blade screwdriver and tighten it up. Now at this point, your sight is all out of adjustment. You're going to have to take it to the range, and unless you counted clicks, you're going to have to take it to the range and go sight it in, because this is an adjustable sight. You can move it up and down. Like I said, unless you counted clicks when you were taking it off, you're going to have to take it back to the range and sight it in. So I hope this helps somebody that either broke their pin, or they just took the sight off to clean it and couldn't figure out how to get it back on. But that's the quick and easy way to do it. Like that's how you do it. Like some people, they'll try to just pound that pin in, and it either ends up bending the pin or scratching something up. But that's where this little, they call it a slave pin, comes in. Get you one of these. If yours broke in half, save it. That's gonna make it easy to reinstall this sight. If yours didn't break in half, and like I said, you just took it apart to clean it or something, go find you a 1/64 or 5/64 little pin somewhere, and just make sure it's not too long. It's got to be, like I said, it's got to be shorter than the distance here, so that it'll fit down inside this little recess right here. So I hope this helps somebody. I know I could have used this information when I was trying to figure it out. It took me like an hour or two just sitting there looking at it, trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to get this thing back on, until I figured out, okay, this is how you do it. And I figured out how to put that pin in there and push that retainer back, put that broken piece of pin in, and it went right on. So I hope this helps somebody, and you guys all have a great day. Later. One more quick thing. I just wanted to show you the reason I was taking my sight off today. I know I told you, but now you can see it. I was installing my red dot sight on my Springfield XDM 5 1/4. This isn't the slide that actually has, they actually make one, not the 5 1/4, but they make a model that has the slide cut out to install a red dot. This one doesn't happen to be it, but Springer Precision makes a mount plate. Hopefully you can see that through that plastic bag. But Springer Precision makes a mount plate for various red dot sights that you can put on these guns. No milling required. You just take your factory sight off, you install this plate right here, and then you can install your red dot sight. And that's what I'm going to be using in competition for a little while. So if you want to go that route, you have that option. Just go to springerprecision.com and you can see what options they have. You can get plates for Trigicon and Burris and Venom and all sorts of different red dot sights if you want to put those on there. So just wanted to show you that. And with that, y'all have a great day. Oh, the reason I did not show the installation of this plate, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. It's one screw that you use to put the plate down to the gun, and then there's two screws that hold the sight down to the plate. Very simple. If you want to see a video on it, there's a guy on YouTube that has already done it on this exact same gun, just a different color. He's got a great video. I didn't feel the need to repeat the steps that he's already done, so just do a YouTube search for the Springfield XDM and red dot sight, and I'm sure it's going to come up. So with that, y'all have a great day.